You know, as the crack dealers started coming round and sort of frequenting, it got rougher, and some of the kids got put through some of the abusive stuff that drug dealers put children through, getting them to do their work for them and stuff, you know, implicating childhood, using their vulnerability as children. To see all of that stuff happening in front of us before we had all these terminologies about sending kids to cunt and all this stuff. I was seeing this happen to young people whose lives now, as adults, who they've grown into adults, I can see the detrimental effect it's had on them. My pen just going over it, trying to learn his style. My pen's got a lid on it. And all of a sudden I just get fucking jumped on by police. They arrest me. They take me to the station. I'm like 10 years old, 11 years old or something. They lock me up in a cell telling me that I'm sub. People will look and say, oh, you know, Chester, you're an inspiration, blah, blah, blah. These writer guys don't understand, way before I was even able to rap, that I was being inspired by what they were doing. And a Mongo, and my brother has always been a massive inspiration to me in writing and stuff, because his styles are so vast and tight and like very compacted, and you know, I was always a bit wild and undisciplined, so I learned a lot about style from my brother. Write down every word, like I will go from A to Z and write down every word in every single category that makes me quite excited, because I am obsessed with words. I'm a wordophilia. Particularly for me as a human being, I was very, very unconfident. I'd come from abusiveness, and there was a lot of bad things in my life as a child that I was trying to get away from. And when I started getting on stages and doing this battle thing, I started, like, people started accepting me and telling me I'm good at something for the first time, and that grew my confidence. And then the confidence, it sort of went beyond itself and just turned into monstrousness, you know. And it was just like opened up at an American's event. We weren't getting up there to open mic, we were getting up there to disrespect them.
You never go like that with the mic.
Nah, I mean, I tell you what, right? I've expanded my lung capacity by cannabis, like, by smoking bongs. I know someone who has a recording of me mimicking Snoop Dogg, which I don't ever want to hear. Lion don't fuck with me. Next time that poor little antelope's chilling in the street, you might think, yeah, remember my hippo pal? Remember what he said? I ain't fucking with this lion no more. And stand up to the lion. Lion kill you, eat you, dead, finished.
So in the back of the London Ultra Cab this week, we have one of the greatest battle MCs, who is an absolute beast and has ravaged many a microphone, who spits flames of lyrical fire like a true wordsmith, who's in the Highbury Hoodlums, aka the Berry Crew, the Mud Family and Taskforce, and I'm a big fan. We have the one and the only Chester P in the back.
Hello.
Yes, my man.
How you doing, man? Are you alright?
How you doing?
I'm good.
Listen, it's an honour for you to step forward to do this.
Likewise.
And this is going to be an exciting interview, because we're going to be talking about graph, you know, the hip hop scene, the battling, and loads of other stuff. Whatever you do, please share this interview around the socials and subscribe to the channel, because you know, there's going to be a load of people interested in watching this interview. So Chester, yes, a real honour, and we're going to take it back to the root, back to where it all kind of started. So, like, the first question I always ask is, you know, whereabouts are you from, and what was it like growing up, you know, as a kid?
I'm London bound. I was born in Archway, so I'm from where I'm still at, basically. I didn't get far in life. I don't know if we can call that an accomplishment or a failure. I'm one of them old people, when you meet them when they're 90 and you say, where did you come from? They go, I come from around here. And you're like, bloody hell, you've been here 90 years. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna see a lot of change in my life. But yeah, I was bred in Archway. We grew up for the first small part of our lives in squats and whatnot. My parents were quite rebellious. After about 6 or 7 months of after my birth, we kind of moved into Highbury Estate, and we were there for a number of years. My family had a home there for maybe 40 years.
Where was you, what, in the flats?
On Highbury Estate, yeah.
Chester, what was that like, living on the estate?
It has its moments and ups and downs. To be honest, Steve, I think if you stay in one place for long enough, no matter where you stay, if you stay there long enough, you're going to see the good side and bad side of it. So I could tell sob stories, horror stories and love stories, all of which are relevant, but you know, it is a matter of perspective and how we deal with looking at it. I was there a long time. I grew up on, it was rough in the 80s, and like in the late 80s and the early 90s, it was rough. And then, you know, as the crack dealers started coming round and sort of frequenting, it got rougher, and some of the kids got put through some of the abusive stuff that drug dealers put children through, getting them to do their work for them and stuff, implicating childhood, using their vulnerability as children, to see all of that stuff happening in front of us before we had all these terminologies about sending kids to cunt and all this stuff. I was seeing this happen to young people whose lives now, as adults, who they've grown into adults, I can see the detrimental effect it's had on them. So in that respect, it's, it's never been pleasant growing up, but that's not because it's a council estate, that's because it's poverty, and people have got to do what they got to do to make money to eat. So
yeah, I mean, as you said, you got to pay the bills, you got to pay the rent, and you got the kids to feed. So
exactly.
It's tough. I bet there was a lot of community spirit back then, though, like within the community.
Yeah, I mean, as the generations grew and aged and passed away, sadly, a lot of that old community spirit generation has passed away. So it's the last few elderly people of the estate now. When I go back round there to visit, I have maybe a couple of people I know still living there, go and visit, and there's maybe one or two of the my elders, the people we used to look up to, but there was community spirit. They built the estate to house people whose houses had been bombed in the war.
Oh, really?
So the first people who moved in had come from Cali Road and places like that, what had been severely damaged by the war. But we've been there so long that we got to know all these elderly people who would tell us all the stories. He was a babysitter for Reggie and Ronnie Craig. Sorry any Craze fans out there, but he used to tell us the stories. He used to look out for us, you know what I mean? There was good old people. There was a community spirit, but that existed then because people didn't have social media and stuff to use as their community. So we had to deal with each other in real life and actually be in the community. So your community spirit was based in your community. Now our community can be a worldwide thing, but we don't know any of them really. But it's our community, and it is very confusing to people who might not have come from that area. But it's all still socializing. I just think back in the days, like some of the old people, they really had it sussed where we looked after each other, Some of that still grows in some of us who've come from that generation.
And there was a code, Chester. There was like a code of conduct, wasn't there?
There always has been. I mean, I don't know if it's there anymore because I'm not young anymore. But when we were little, we couldn't do certain things. You would be reprimanded by your elders. It's like you can't go around doing things like that. Today, I'm not sure if it is like that or not. It's not that I would ever have done certain things anyway. But like stealing from women, elderly people, robbing people, like things like that, you couldn't do that sort of stuff. Our elders would have beat you up. You know what I mean? So even if you had that delusional thought, which I never, but some of my friends might have wanted to do that. That's their own business. But you'll get reprimanded, and you grow up kind of like, you're bullying me. But as you get to an age, you realise, actually, you're just keeping me in check. Somebody had to, because perhaps our parents were failing to know what we was up to. So.
It's true, isn't it? And what kind of music was you growing up as a kid? I mean, was your kind of your mum or your dad like a big influence on you with the music?
Yeah, both were.
Your dad was in a band, didn't it?
Yeah, he was in a band called the Tourists.
Yeah.
Which was the Eurythmics before they were the Eurythmics, basically. He wasn't a part of the Eurythmics. They fell out by that point. But they sold like 1 million copies of a cover version of a Dusty Springfield tune or whatever. So they were. We were heavily influenced by music. But we had an eclectic growing up musically, so we would be hearing anything from 1920s blues music all the way through the genres, through right up to punk, down to like Scottish folk music. My musical knowledge by the time I was 12 or 13, it was huge. And then when you get into sampling and stuff, it benefits you to understand more music and have an open mind. So some people say, I'm only going to sample jazz or funk, and I just think, well, everyone's already sampled that, man. And I sample some shit no one's even thinking. I'm trying to sample some
like nursery rhyme or like a folk song or whatever.
Anything. So we get into buying records, and then you learn your trade that way. But we had an advantage because we always had this massive record collection at home because my mum and dad collected records themselves.
So they was a big inspiration.
Hugely, both, and they both play guitar, both sing, and you know what I mean. So that had a lot to do with it. And seeing some of the misfortune that the music industry inflicted upon my dad was also a big influence on me, wanting to make sure that I always differentiated between music as my art and music as my business, and that there was only so much I will sacrifice of my art in order to make sure my business is okay. So my business has been sacrificed for the art by the end of it all, which is kind of what I wanted to do, because now I can still sit there and sort of, when I think about my dad, I can say, well, I know the connection we had, that's all we ever really had as a father and son thing, is the understanding that we had very strict principles about what we're doing with our art, and I'm managing to kind of stick to mine, you know.
You stood by it.
Yeah, and the times when I know I've lost money and I've been hungry because I've stood by those principles, I can deal with. And I would rather be hungry and lose a little bit of money here and there than actually be hungry for some self-respect because I sold out the ethics of my art. But that's a personal choice, and that's not something to be dictated to anyone else.
What was the kind of a spark that lit the flame to, you know, to get you into hip hop? Was it was it La Di Da Di?
That's definitely pivotal. I mean, I know I was listening to hip hop music before them, but that is a huge part of it, as many of us in this country, I think.
I mean, what a tune that was, isn't it?
When it was on Top of the Pops, that was it for me, that moment, because me and my brother, we both knew every word to it. Yeah. And we had like a tiny 9-inch black and white TV and a coat hanger as its fucking aerial, and you know, it's coming on, get the aerial to work, Robin, fucking fix the TV, bro. We're falling out over it. I'm saying, just fucking hold the thing, hold it. We're holding it, and there's Slick Rick's come on, there's La Di Da Di, and we're just like, La Di Da, and we rapped along with it, and we both looked at each other and said, yeah, I'm gonna do this, man. I want to be on that stage one day, and we knew we would, and we both said it.
So Slick was kind of like a big inspiration.
Hugely.
Yeah.
And it's even more beautifully down the line is when we found out that he was actually born in England.
That's right.
Some people say Scotland, some people say Norfolk. I'm not sure which is true, but apparently he's born in England. I hope that's true. It might not be, you know.
And I know, I think he grew up just outside London.
Yeah,
I think it's Mitcham. Might have been in Mitcham or something like that. Mitcham in Surrey, I think.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It's absolutely amazing. What elements of hip hop was you representing? I mean, did you ever dabble at like graph tagging?
Yeah, no, that's where we come from. I mean, before all of it, for us, for me, before any of it, I wanted to be a breakdancer. That's what we saw first. That was the first element of hip hop culture.
Yeah.
So I saw big kids doing that, and I thought to myself, fucking no, that's a mad thing. Like, I'm interested in that. And then I saw the breakmats, and they were covered in graffiti, and that's where the graffiti elements sort of kicked in. And I was not good at breakdancing, you know. My brother was quite good. We had routines, like we'd get Planet Rock out and put it on, and we'd fucking choreograph ourselves all these routines.
Like the turtle
oh, it's absolutely hilarious when I think of it, because I have no rhythm in my feet. My guilty feet have got no rhythm, man. I tell you. So like we were, you know, but my he's quite good at everything. My brother, that's the funny thing. He's pretty good at everything. Like he can do graph, he can do breakdance, he's pretty good at all things.
He's good all rounder.
He is basically, yeah. So he was like quite good at it, and I could see that I weren't really that great at it, and I was thinking, oh, I don't know if I'm going to keep this up. Like, I'm not. And then I saw the graffiti, I thought, yeah, let me try that. And I wasn't very good at that either, sadly, because I'm left-handed, dyslexic, dyspraxic, you know. Yeah, that's what, oh, fuck this, man. I'm no good at nothing. Carrying on, I'm knocking about my brother and all his lot, and he's got himself into RCS and a few of the early crews back in the days when, you know, graph was having what is a similar resurgence now, which is beautiful. Big up all the graffiti writers. It's amazing what graffiti is doing for me right now. So.
Well, listen, I've got an Edding 850 in the front of my cab, so I'd love you to sign my book after this interview.
I'll sign it with a really shit tag, yeah.
It doesn't matter.
But
listen, it doesn't matter. Huge. Look, it's about getting your name up. It doesn't always mean
truly. But for me, my ego's too intense for that. I'm quite an egotistic guy deep down. But graffiti is definitely
a big part of it.
Huge.
And can you remember some of the names that were getting up around your time? Some of the some of the I mean, would it be people like Robbo and XL and
Robbo,
Drax,
Robbo, Shoe 2, Sub 1, Bus 1. I mean, here's a real story. Like when I was about 9 or 10, I used to knock about with this girl on roller skates. I won't say her name. We were good friends. I think I was quite in love with her, and she didn't reciprocate, and that's how we ended up not being friends. Basically, you know that you ruin it as a man. You ruin it. But I was too young to understand that. But anyway, we were good friends. We used to go walking down the train tracks on roller skates together, you know what I mean, and doing graffiti, and just crazy kids, a pair of us, crazy, absolutely insane. But we used to knock about with my brother and a lot of the writers. He was knocking about with Mace at the time, Massacre, all them guys, Frail, Pest, all of the RCS lot, and he was getting those. So I was obviously accepted as his younger brother and got to knock around with them. So I felt like I wasn't such a toy because I was knocking about with some actually amazing artists. But
Pest, I mean, I heard Pest had a wicked tag.
Pest was a
Pest, yeah.
He passed away, someone told me, which is very sad, man. So
Yeah,
rest well, man. A lot of fallen soldiers in graffiti, but
and Robbo as well, obviously.
yeah, of course. So that's where I was going. So I was with this girl just out having a laugh, and we were at Drayton Park train station, and there was a sub tag on the wall, and I'm fucking about with my pen, just going over it, trying to learn his style. My pen's got a lid on it, and all of a sudden I just get fucking jumped on by police. They arrest me. They take me to the station. I'm like 10 years old, 11 years old or something. They lock me up in a cell telling me that I'm sub. And I'm saying, nah, no way, man. I think they must have known.
But you was like, I wish I was sub.
I was thinking, yeah, I'd like to be. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, they know I'm not sub. Like, look at this guy. I'm not even tall enough to reach some of the places he's reaching. And I'm sitting there thinking, man. But you know, they were idols of mine. They eventually let me out of the police and give me a ticking off, give me a caution or whatever. Fast forward years down the line, and I'm friends with sub and people like that, and it's just quite an interesting story, you know. It's like how we all met. I met all of them guys through Mud Family, through Skinnyman and Mongo. That's how I met all of them. The DDS lot, basically, Bus One and them guys are all great friends of mine. People I have a lot of love and respect for.
And a big shout out to all them guys.
All of them, yeah. Especially because people will look and say, oh, you know, Chester, you're an inspiration, blah, blah, blah. These writer guys don't understand, way before I was even able to rap, that I was being inspired by what they were doing. You know, like 100%. I was out there looking at these guys writing on the wall and thinking, yeah, man, this is some real shit, man. Like, this means something, you know, to the culture I'm representing.
And it's nice that you know, it's nice that we're talking about hip-hop and we're talking about the culture of hip-hop, because some people, I think, hip-hop is basically someone MCing on a microphone. But what they have to understand, this thing is a culture. You know, there's different elements of hip-hop, and obviously graph is it's one of the first elements of hip-hop, graph.
For most of us, and it's one of the first ones that everyone leaves out as one of the elements as well. Yeah. When we talk about elements, you always hear, you know, MC and DJ and breaking, blah blah, and I just think, well, what have we forgot about the graph? Because to be honest, like in and outside of hip-hop, graffiti is the only art form left that hasn't completely sold its spirit yet. It's the only one left. Like, if anyone can correct me on that statement, please do. Show me some art that isn't selling itself out and its integrity. Hip hop's doing it. The only thing left is graffiti. These people are still not trying to sell. You know, I've got nothing against people who want to sell their art and make money. It's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is those people who don't want to do that, they're in graffiti, they still exist. And this is people who take life and death risks for us to be able to look at their art, you know what I mean? And they get condemned, shunned, criminalized, and then they get left out of their own culture by people who are too bigoted to actually accept that graffiti is a huge part of hip-hop culture. And if we're not going to say that, then you're not a hip-hop culture person, you're a rapper. You know, and there's a difference.
I mean, to me, it's a big part of it. And obviously, you know, I come from like the kind of the Zulu Nation mentality. So Zulu Nation, like the elements, you know, graph was an element of hip-hop. So
yeah, it is. It was, is, and always will be. And to be honest, it's probably the most integral element of hip hop, as far as I'm concerned.
Chester, you know, you wrote "Ballad of a Legend," and I mean, what an amazing. That was a tribute, wasn't it, to King Robbo?
Yeah.
And that was an amazing. If anyone hasn't heard "Ballad of a Legend," it's a tribute that Chester wrote for obviously the passing of King Robbo. It's absolutely incredible. Can you tell me a little bit about that? And
it's not a story about Robbo, because I didn't know him well enough to write about a person's life, you know what I mean? But it was just a story about graffiti, but it was inspired, sadly, I don't know if inspired, incited is probably a better word. It was incited by the passing of such a legend to me. Yeah. Not only was he a legend in graffiti, which is legendary within my culture of hip-hop and what I represent in the hip-hop field, but he was a North London man, you know. I mean, he grew up where I grew up. He was from where I was from. WRH, PIC, Drax, all of these guys.
Choci and Doze.
Choci, exactly. Yeah. Choci, exactly.
Doze,
exactly. Were fucking important to me growing up. So when the sad passing of Robbo came about, and the sad accident that came about, which You know, it's fucking tragic. I didn't really know what else to do, so I just did the only thing I really know how to do, and I just wrote a song.
And you wrote a ballad of a legend.
A ballad about a legend, yeah. You know, who perhaps the rest of the world might not see it in the way we see it, but for those of us amongst us who understand what we're talking about here, we're talking about people with integrity for art. And art is the deepest and most functional level of communication any animal can have with another animal. So for me, all artistry, it needs to be respected, revered and protected from the dangers and pitfalls of financial stress. So graffiti is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Robbo was a king of that world, man, and he deserves to be immortalized as that.
And a big RIP to Robbo, and a big up to all of Team Robbo as well.
Definitely.
And in terms of inspirations of MCs, I know obviously Slick Rick was a big inspiration. Was there what inspirations were coming out of the UK? Would it be some of the early MCs like your Rodney P's, the Mike J's?
Yeah, of course. It has to be for me and my age group, because a lot of rappers come up after us will say, oh, you guys are the golden age, and I said, well, not really, because there was already a golden age that got me into hip-hop. So it does depend, you know. Kids now, they're going to probably think Higher Focus is the golden age of hip-hop. Kids my age or adults my age or whatever, we're going to think it was Rodney P's age. Rodney P's going to have a golden age where he might be saying, well, you know, to us it was like Tipperary and Smiley culture or whatever it might be. There is no set thing in stone. It's an age thing. But for me personally, yes, 100%. it was them exact people you said. It was your Rodney P. Certainly London Posse. Bionic for me was always somebody I revered as I listened indoors. We listened to a lot of punk rock music. My parents played a lot of punk rock music, and I always felt like Bionic was almost like a West Indian version of Johnny Rotten or something. It was fantastic to me, you know what I mean? And it was almost like I just related to it. It's like I understood everything that was going on when he spoke. It was it was a rude boy thing, but it was like, you know, that actually there is an element of punk or something else in there that is just fascinating to me. And then Mike J and all them guys, obviously the Demon Boys being North Londoners and that, they were big inspirations to us.
I really, how about like Blade and Caveman?
Yeah, but of course, anyone we could think of.
Cookie Crew?
All of them, Cookie Crew, everyone. And you know, even Merlin and Duke and all them guys from the Hustlers Convention.
Oh wow!
When they used to battle Daddy Freddy, you know, like
Daddy Freddy.
All of these people, they were the people who were way already doing mad shit before we were even considered as a part of this. So that's again, if we're going to talk golden age, man, we have to remember that. Which golden age are we discussing about? That was an important time in hip hop music, because from that was the beginning of British hip-hop, and that's where we come from. And you know, I remember trying to sound American, and I remember listening to people like them and saying, what the hell am I doing? And that's how we all stopped sounding American, because all of us tried to be American once. 100%. It's your Rodney P's and them guys there who came out and said, what's wrong with you, like, you know, man up, speak your own tongue. And that we owe that to them guys, all of us.
Well, even originally, like Rodney was like rapping in an American accent.
Yeah,
and his undername was Roddy Rock.
I didn't say that, Roddy.
But you know, obviously, you know, we come out with our own slang, and obviously it was like Smiley culture.
That's exactly.
There was keeping that kind of Cockney. At
the Cockney translator for me, that was a very important part in growing up as well, because it's just an awesome tune, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like the 12-inch of that tune with police officer on one side and Cockney translator on the other. I mean, can you get a better 12-inch?
Amazing.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Smiley. And big up to Merlin. Merlin's a friend of mine as well.
But wicked. The battle between Merlin and Duke, I think it is, on one of them Hustlers conventions, and I can almost remember it word for word. And he says something about. You go to your dad's house, he doesn't know that you're coming, you creep up the stairs and he doesn't know you, look through the keyhole, discover them bumming. And it's just like, when we were kids, we were like, oh my god, this is where I want to be a battle rapper, man.
And I was told they didn't actually battle. That was edited to sound like Duke and Merlin were battling. But I think the story is, I mean, Duke and Merlin can tell me right on this, but I think that was edited. Like they wasn't actually battling each other.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I'm 45 now. Since 1989 that record come out. That
You always
is-
thought that. I mean, I thought that as
that's
well.
like 30 years of misinformation.
I
I've
thought
been
that as
thinking.
well.
Oh,
And listen, I could be wrong. I could be mugging
That's
myself off,
interesting.
but I think that is the
that's
case.
interesting.
But I'll speak to Duke again about that.
But even then, we had Daddy Freddie on there.
Daddy
and he
Freddie's
was
wicked.
getting on Blue Peter and
Yeah.
shit. You know what I mean?
I mean, for speed chatting, like Tipper Irie and all them. I mean,
It was
amazing.
awesome. A great time in music, man, and it was fun. You know, I mean, people were enjoying it. But that's where all of them guys. But then, you know, outside of like artists like that, my internal circle, there's unsung heroes. You know, like for me, Intense from the Berry Crew. He was a huge part of why I rap. Like not just on a little level, like on a personal level. Like I know this guy, his irrepressibility and just his sheer lack of fear of anything or one in this world taught me how to have a little bit more confidence than I used to have. And just being his friend made me feel like a more confident human being, because he just didn't give a fuck about nothing or no one, and he had no fear of anything or anyone, and he would say exactly what he wanted to say when he wanted to say it, and there was no confrontation that he would ever bow down to. And he taught us how to rap, he taught us how to freestyle, he taught us a lot, man. So Intense V, man, he's definitely one of the key reasons why me and my brother do this, and I will speak quite happily for my brother on that, because it's the truth. Like Intense, and then of course Skinnyman and Mongo.
Yeah.
And my brother has always been a massive inspiration to me in writing and stuff, because his styles are so vast and tight and like very compacted, and you know, I was always a bit wild and undisciplined, so I learned a lot about style from my brother. So that's the inside circle. There's many more, the names could go on for fucking hours, but
Oh yeah.
you know, I mean, directly though, for me, I think Intense is definitely MCD as well is someone I have to say, you know, like the way he meant what he said, it brought tears to my eyes every time I watched him talk. He is incredible. But
Yeah.
then in America,
I was going to say, yeah, about the American, like the US New York MCs. I mean, would it be like Melly Mel, Cool Mo D, Chuck D, and
I guess I was a bit young for that, because that isn't who strikes me.
Yeah.
For me, when I really was paying attention to like listening to rappers in America and like absorbing styles, techniques, slang, different ways of expressing yourself, the first time I really noticed myself taking on inspiration from anyone else would have been Wu-Tang. I mean, Mobb Deep's second album was huge in my life. They're about my age, so I really connected with the second album, Survival of the Fittest, and then the Wu-Tang stuff. From the minute that dropped, that was me. I was a Wu baby. It was just, but particularly Ghostface and Raekwon. It's just something. I don't know, man.
I mean, the Wu are incredible, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like when you listen to the Wu-Tang, it's like some of them samples and they're kind of them sort of film old kung fu type
It's
film
amazing,
samples.
It was brand new when they did it too. No one else was doing that.
It sounds amazing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely brilliant.
I love it. I love Wu-Tang. I mean, I'm a massive Ghostface fan. Like lyrically, I just think like it's just something else. I don't know if anyone knows what he's even talking about half the time. I don't know if he does or not. I don't really care. It just sounds fucking awesome. And there are some. Old Dirty was the same for me. I mean, I don't think there's been a better rapper than Old Dirty ever. He's probably my favourite all time.
Old Dirty,
ever.
he's a beast, isn't he?
It's just there's no style like it. It's just he's just wild and raw. He reminds me of Intense in that respect. It's uncontrolled. There is no formula to it. It's just wild and raw. It's expression at its purest form. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So talking of music producers, who would you rate on the production back in the day? Like, I suppose you got to talk about UK and then obviously US.
Sadly, if I was going to talk about old school UK hip hop and production, I wouldn't have a fucking clue what to say.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't paying attention to producers. It
Yeah,
wasn't
it's true,
in my
actually,
mind.
isn't it?
You know what I mean?
It's
And I
true.
don't mean that disrespectfully,
No,
but
no,
I'm
no.
not a producer at heart. You see, I do make beats, but it's not what I don't sit and listen to other people's beats and think, oh, that's inspiring or that's this. I just think if I hear a good beat, I just want to rap on it, because I'm actually a rapper at heart. So I know rappers and I remember rappers, but the beats and stuff, sadly, I didn't pay the attention that they deserved.
Because the American ones, we've all heard of like legends like Mantronics, Marley Marl,
and they're the people
the
I would list
Squad.
off. Yeah, you know, like you said before, Marley Marl, definitely. I mean, for me, the MC Shan and the MC Shan period where he was battling KRS was fucking awesome. I always loved MC Shan, you know. So.
His voice.
No, I just think he's great. I feel I'm not sure he really lost half the time. I kind of checked for it.
I was going to say, yeah, you know, Chester. How did you get your name, Chester P?
I'm a big comic fan. Like, when I say comics, I mean comics as well as graphic novels. I like the Beano and Dandy and Ua Wooly and the Bruins for all my Scottish friends out there. You know, I'm very much into illustrations and comics and the humour that come with them, wizard chips, all of that shit.
Did you like the Dandy and the Beano?
All of it, loved it. Dandy, Beano, wizard chips, all of it, loved it. Very much so. And my parents too, my dad too, he was a huge comic fan, so we were in Giles and all these weird handicap and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So I was always into it, and they owned a very rare sort of, at the time it was very rare, psychedelic comic called Brainstorm, which came out in 3 parts and then released itself as one whole graphic novel. His name's Brian Talbot, and he done this comic, and the main character in it is called Chester P. Hackenbush.
And
so
that's where it comes
That's where I got it from. You know, I used to get high on my acid or whatnot when I was very young, and sort of read this comic, and it was all black and white, and it was completely psychedelic, and it's about this man who's an alchemist and, you know, a Westerner guy, and he takes a derivative of every known herbal drug to man, every psychotic drug, every psychedelic drug, and makes one tablet out of it and just pops it and goes off on his space cadet thing. And I just thought, yeah, he's me, man. That is literally
cool.
me. Me and this guy know each other like very well. So I took the name, and then I took concepts from the comic too, like Cosmic Gypsies, which, you know, people still talk about Cosmic Gypsies. I didn't make that up. I took it off this comic. So for years and years, I'm running around thinking, shit, I've took this name, I've took these concepts. I do actually feel like I've actually stole something off this poor guy. And one day I'm at my mum's house, and the phone rings and I answer it, and they say, there's a northern guy on the phone, a Geordie guy. He says, can I speak to Chester P? And I said, yeah, speaking. And he said, I'm Brian Talbot. And I was thinking, why do I know that name? And I was like, hold on, you're Brian Talbot, you drew Brainstorm? He said, yeah. And I was like, fucking hell, this is going to sound weird. I feel like I'm talking to my dad. You invented me, you know what I mean? Like,
wow.
And he actually took the time to get my number, phone me, and tell me that he saw an interview where I was expressing concern legally about using the name. And he was phoning me to tell me that it's all cool. And he said, it's yours. You do what you want with it. We've reprinted some of the comics. People from your music are now interested in my comic because of you using the name, and I think you're great anyway. And you were so nice, man. Like
I must have really
bro, it touches me to this day, man, because he's not a small fry. He does Spider-Man for DC. Wow. You know, he's a big guy. Yeah, he's a proper huge graphic novelist, and he's took the time out of his own life to fucking get my phone number, phone me up, and give me a blessing like that. And then I get invitations to his flipping exhibitions and stuff. It's just mind blowing. You know what I mean? Like, just little old me amongst all these graphic novelists. Like, okay, it'd be like, oh yeah, this is my friend Chester P. Like, oh god, yeah. There you go.
And how about Farmer? How did Farmer, your brother, Farmer G,
God
get
knows.
his name?
God knows.
You're not sure?
Nah. I know he always called himself the farmer of styles because he's cultivating a lot of styles. But I think that was all internalized. He didn't get it from an external source. But I might be wrong. He would have to answer that himself.
And Chester, you know, you're an absolute lyrical beast. I mean, you've wrote so many great tracks like The Wicker Man Theory, The Junkyard, Tears on My Pillowcase, It's on You, and so many more, you know, like hip-hop classics. Where do you kind of get your inspiration in terms of, you know, writing your lyrics?
I think when I said earlier, like, I'm not sure inspired is the best word for it. I think incited is a better word. I am incited most of the time to write that powerful stuff, you know what I mean? It's like nothing will inspire me to write something that powerful. Something awful will have happened to me to make me write something that powerful. Wicker Man particularly was a point in my life when I did something that was not very nice to somebody I cared about dearly, you know, and I hurt them, and I realized how contradictory I was as a human being, and it was an epiphany that the pain I caused this person, it created an epiphany in me to understand that I wasn't as perfectly nice as I thought I was, because for a long time in my younger days I thought I was kind of crack free, you know. I don't mean like crack free, I still am crack free, but just crack free. I felt like I was a very decent. I didn't feel like, I felt like the sun might have shone out my ass, perhaps, you know what I mean? And I realised, oh, you know what, I'm capable of being an arsehole as well. And the Wicker Man was me kind of expressing to the world that in every action I'm going to have an action to contradict myself, because I'm very contradictory, and in fact we all are. It's incitation as opposed to inspiration, because something that I've done that's caused someone else pain isn't inspiring, but it is inciting for me as an artist to be able to express it in a way that I can make sense of, because it's all, a lot of life is mumbo jumbo to me until I write it into a song. And that's how I am, and I believe that's what most artists probably suffer from, you know, like the world to us can only be viewed through our art mediums. You know, if you're a graffiti artist, the world can only be understood through that medium, and I feel like that about music. So when I'm understanding myself, I have to write about myself, you know, so that's where a lot of that stuff comes from. And sometimes I just don't want to write about anything heavy at all, and I just want to sound like, I just want to put a load of smart words that no one else is saying and put them together and make them rhyme in ways that no one else is making, and show off. And
how do you say smart words? How do you kind of get them smart words? I mean, was you good at English at school?
I didn't go to school, man.
So
it's incredible, my life.
Do you look certain words up and find out the meaning of them words?
I mean, over the years, me and my brother, we don't talk no more, but he will be testament to some of it. It happens, family happens, we work together, live together. It's all love, you know what I mean? It's all love, but we just need space, that's fine. But he will be testament to say that when we were younger and we were very close and spending so much time making our music together and etc., one of my main hobbies, one of the only books I repeatedly have read is a dictionary. And, I mean, I read it like it's a book. Oh wow, that's so interesting, and people are like, you're fucking strange, man. And I will write down every word. Like, I will go from A to Z and write down every word in every single category that makes me quite excited, because I am obsessed with words. I'm a wordophilia.
Wow. Chester, I'm blown away by it.
I still do it. I still read the dictionary often, and I love expanding my vocabulary. But also because I left school so young, because teachers couldn't cope with the kind of human being I was. You know, I came from a place where, like, I like education, I like to learn stuff, but I also like to be treated with respect, and I didn't find myself being respected within the education system, and I also felt like I was being conditioned to turn into something autonomous in order to fit into the system, so I didn't want to do that. It might be bordering on autism or Asperger's or something like that, because I do walk down the street and every single word I see, I rearrange it. Like, you know, I will spoonerise it, rearrange it, respell it, anagram it. I will make 10 different words out of just that coming. And this is happening to me on everything I look at word-wise. That is actually happening to me, which can be quite overwhelming at times, you know what I mean? But that's where a lot of my word behaviour comes from, and I love words.
I'm blown away.
Etymology, especially.
Chester, I'm blown away by that.
And that's the real story, man. I'm a wordy guy. I'm like a bookworm. That's what
Listen, you are without a shadow of a doubt like a wizard of words. I mean, like a proper word wizard. Yeah, a wordsmith.
Yeah, Wizardora.
And talking of Wizardora. I mean, for me, you're one of the GOAT battle MCs.
After all their lives being told that they're useless and you're this and you're that and you're just trouble and you're not going to amount to nothing, and then you actually give me something where I can be that naughty.
You're going to shine.
Yeah. But being this person, they're all telling me I'm bad for being. So it's like this bunch of people are telling me, in society, you're telling me that I can't be like this. But the people in my world, they love it. Like, I'm just gonna exploit this situation, you know. And not only that, I'm fucking skint, and I don't want to be doing crime because I don't want to be going to jail. So ultimately, if I can win 100 quid to come into these battles, and I can do that 2 or 3 times a week, then I can support my family, and we can eat, and we can all live. And that's really and truly what it was all about. But I enjoyed it.
So did you make some money out of battle rapping?
At that time, I was making more money doing that than I was doing anything. You know, it excelled, and then it sort of sunk. There was a lot of them events were £100 prize and a bottle of champagne. You know, the champagne was probably as exciting as the £100, but money was helping. You know, it was helping me, and I was good at it. But we freestyle battled, so there's a difference to today's battling and that battling. I did never, ever battle once using written rhymes. Not once, not ever.
Wow.
Ever,
So
never.
it was seriously just straight off the dome.
Always, 100%. And only very few of us could do that, you know. And it was a cool time, man, and it was a character building, and I learnt a lot of love and respect for a lot of other rappers who could do it with us. Reveal particularly, he was always up there at the very top of my list of people who had me on my toes, you know. But it was interesting, but as time goes on, we grow and we reflect on ourselves, and I don't like confrontation anymore.
I know we spoke about this on the way up here. It's like you don't like confrontation. You're a peaceful person. You don't like to slag people off. So kind of battle rapping really ain't your bag anymore.
It's not my bag. I can watch them guys doing it. I just don't have I don't know if I have the disposition to let someone talk about people who I miss. You know what I mean? Like now, I used to be cool with it. You know, you could say whatever you want. It didn't bother me. But now, someone might start saying something funny about my dad or something like that, and I might just flip out. Yeah, and I don't want to do that because I'm entering that arena. That's what it is. If you're going to go in there and be like that, you might as well not go. You know what I mean? And I just don't have it in me to hear that sort of stuff no more. You know, so not just that, I don't have it in me to want to talk about somebody's like. You know, but that's what battling is, and it's very entertaining.
I think to be a battle rapper, I think you need kind of like a heart of steel, like an armor, like a body armor.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for the armor, the amount of abuse and the amount of stick and the amount, I know it's kind of they don't mean it because you know,
but they do mean it really. You know what I mean? Deep down, so you can see some people want you to hurt. You know what I mean? Like you can see it. It's nasty. It's like and that's what gets me. It's like when people are really trying, and it's like, oh come on, you're not just having a laugh. You actually are trying to fucking get under my skin.
I mean, Chester, has there actually ever been any kind of fights like with battles, right? You know, because you like someone's been slagged off so much. Yeah. It's like kicked off.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Definitely.
Really?
Yeah. 100%. There's been fights.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll leave it there. I think. Yeah. No, there was always violence. You know, it's going to come, isn't it? It's bound to. But again, I think back in the days, especially, maybe not now. You know, I saw occasionally in some of the more current battle arenas, maybe Don't Flop or whatever. I see when little bits of violence kick off, everyone starts acting a bit, and I just think, come on, man, if you're going to stand up and you're going to talk to each other like that, occasionally someone's going to get a punch, and a punch is not that far off than an insult. As long as people are not stabbing and shooting and. You know what I mean? Sometimes I just think punching each other might even help some people. You know? Fucking hell. I've had a smack before and thought that really helped. Like, Jesus, I needed that kick in the ass. You know what I mean? That really done me a lot of good, actually. Yeah. I realised I was being an arsehole. You give me a clop, I think, all right, cool. I get it. Yeah, all right. No harm done.
Oh, Chester, that's funny. Yeah. And what would you say it takes to become like a great battle rapper? Would you say you need presence, confidence? Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I used to put on 5-word freestyle trial, and I did it as a point to prove to people that you don't even really have to be a rapper to freestyle. I mean, but again, we have to differentiate. Today's battle rapping is all written down. Some of that stuff's intricate. It's like complicated. If you went up there just freestyling against some of these guys, especially the Americans, but even some of the English guys, Choci Horrors and your Tony D's and these went up there just trying to freestyle against some of the intricate writing they're doing, you're going to lose. You're going to fucking lose. You're going to get ripped to shreds. Yeah. You probably get ripped to shreds if you go out there with your written stuff. Them guys are very good, you know what I mean? Yeah. Big respect to them two guys particularly. There's many more, but out of everyone, they always stuck in my mind as being very, very talented. So things have changed, you know, but when we used to just freestyle, confidence was all you would need. Because, you know, like to win a battle, you've got a minute to rap. And it don't really matter if you can rap or not, if you're on time or not. If you get that one punchline that just needs to be comedy, you don't even need to rap it.
I watched something on you the other day, and you was on stage like MCing. It wasn't a battle. It was your presence, and you was talking about Boris. And you started mimicking Boris on stage, and I'll tell you, it was absolutely hilarious. Yeah. It was genius.
Yeah, I know the lyric. I mean, presence is everything as well, of course, but that comes with confidence because you can't present yourself unconfidently. You know what I mean? And I think particularly for me as a human being, I was very, very unconfident. I'd come from abusiveness, and there was a lot of bad things in my life as a child that I was trying to get away from. And when I started getting on stages and doing this battle thing, I started, like, people started accepting me and telling me I'm good at something for the first time, and that grew my confidence. And then the confidence, it sort of went beyond itself and just turned into monstrousness, you know. And it was just like, I wasn't confident, I was just unfuckable, you know what I mean? And I would literally walk into any arena and say, there's no human being in here who can fuck with me. And it stood up, and it paid off like that, and it genuinely did. And there were people who might have been better, but they couldn't have stood in my face and made me uncomfortable, and I will make them uncomfortable for that, especially because then it wasn't the same. The cultural dynamics of the listener was not the same. When I first started going to hip hop clubs, it wasn't white. I'm not trying to make separation between people. Like, I'm white, you know what I mean? But when we first started rapping in clubs, we were the only white people in there. And now to get accepted under that pretense was even harder, because we were being looked at like Elvis Presley's, you know what I mean? And we were getting racial slurs just for walking into buildings. But we're not taking that as, you know, someone's being, I understood it, we understood it, you know what I mean? We understand it as people wanting to be a part of a culture that has come from ethnicity. As white people wanting to be a part of that, as being a part of that, we have to understand and accept there's going to be a little bit of animosity until you prove yourself. So we wipe our feet on the welcome mat, and we come in and we keep coming in and we keep coming back until we do prove ourselves, and slowly but surely everything starts changing until it's turned into the mess it's turned into today. But when we first had to do that, we had to prove ourselves, not only as good rappers, but as the fact that we were white people trying to be rappers, because there wasn't none.
Yeah, and become accepted.
And be accepted for it. And it took a long time for that. And that work, that groundwork, doesn't have to be done by other people today. You see what I mean? As well as the internet. And this, we you know, let's remember, crews before Taskforce, London Posse, Demon Boys, Blade, Gunshot, Caveman, Catch-22,
Son of Noise.
Yeah, exactly. All of these guys, man. I mean, Son of Noise had a tune that's always massive to me. Negative. What's it called? The tune. I always say this to Colin, and he looks at me like, how can you say it means so much to you? Negative Forces. That's what it's called.
Negative Forces. Yeah, big shout out to Q-Rock.
Fucking tune. Yeah, big up Q-Rock, man. He's a legend, man.
Yeah, and I'm seeing Q-Rock soon and doing an interview. But
he's good people, man.
He's a good guy.
Good people.
And that's the first time I met you, Chester, was at the Four Pillars event in Finsbury Park at the Silver Bullet. I mean, first time I see you on stage, and you literally, I was like, who is this geezer? He's like, he's unbelievable. This guy is unbelievable. You stood there, I'm not lying, for 25 minutes. Literally rhyme after rhyme after rhyme after rhyme, and you literally blew the roof off the place. People going crazy.
For me, I'm just me. It's hard to know how other people perceive you doing what you do, because to me it's not special. It's just something I always could do, you know what I mean? So I get it. I get it. It means a lot to people.
Listen, mate. Listen, you're a genius at what you do.
It's nice. Thank you.
You're a proper genius. And would you say, was there any like battle raps that kind of got a bit on top where you're thinking, oh, I might be losing this battle?
Yeah. I mean, only Reveal, to be honest. Reveal's the only rapper I ever battled or I actually feel like beat me. I think I lost one or two according to crowd response. But according to people I know, I didn't lose that. But I think with Reveal, there was a couple of, I think we might have battled 5 times.
Wow.
And I think I won 3 and he won 2 according to crowd response. But if I'm honest, I might have come away from that situation feeling like he was, if he wasn't doing better than me, he was exactly on my level. And my respect for him's never changed. He's just like, this guy, he was the only rapper who I would feel on my toes to battle. And it would be like, oh fuck, have I got a battle Reveal? I might lose, man. Like, I always win, but when Revs is coming in the building, I might lose this shit. I didn't have to battle Skinny, so that's cool. Luckily, he was my friend. So me and Skinny didn't ever have to battle. And other than Skinny, really, I can't really imagine anyone would have put me on my toes. But
and would there be anybody out there you would have loved to have battled?
Nah, not really. No, I mean, when we were young, we just wanted to battle every American who come here, so we did. You know, I mean, our thing wasn't let's go and watch them rap or let's go and rob their chains. Our thing was let's go and battle them. You know, so Intense battled Mad Skills. He battled Old Dirty Bastard. Skinny's battled Eminem. I battle Common Sense. I mean, like it's a fucking joke, really. You know, it's us Londoners, man. We represented our shit well, man.
Oh, listen, you Skinny, all these incredible MCs, you done us proud, mate. Honestly.
Nah, we stood up for London, man. And when they came and they tried to, they still thought we all just sit around drinking tea, you know. And they would come and they'd be like, oh, what? Come on, man. And be like, let's take you down the front line, bro.
Yeah.
You know, let's take you up front line, show you some crackheads, man. Fucking hell.
And was you there when Skinnyman was battling Eminem?
Yeah, well, no, I wasn't there, but he did battle Eminem. Yeah.
How did that go down?
I'm not even sure, man.
You're sure?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of these kind of things. Like I say, it was important to us. Where if a mic was opened up at an American's event, we weren't getting up there to open mic. We were getting up there to disrespect them. Except for people we liked, and that's why when Intense went to battle Old Dirty, I was a bit like, oh fuck, don't do that, please. You know what I mean? I don't think I'm on your side. Like Old Dirty's my hero, bro. And to be honest, I'm not sure anyone can beat Old Dirty. I'm not sure we won that night. He smashed it. Old Dirty absolutely smashed it. He freestyled, but it was I mean, you know, it's brilliant. And we used to get mics at like festivals and stuff when Showbiz and AG were performing at Kiss Festival at Highbury Fields, and it's Highbury, so it's ours. So we've climbed over, and when we've landed in the tent near my brother behind the fucking DJ doing the Showbiz and AG sit. Like just landed on the floor and went, oh shit. Like, I wandered in the tent, and when we get the mic, it's cordless, and we're not giving it back. And when my guy finishes, he chucks it at me. I'm rapping. We're running away from security, rapping on this cordless, just sharing it and just fucking the people's setup. You know what I mean? Like ultimately, I can't imagine how that felt for them American people, but I'd have been a bit pissed off. But, you know.
And sorry, going back to the rap, the MCing actually. I mean, when I interviewed Blade was saying for him to control his breath control. You know, when you're on stage and you're MCing so much, you go. He used to keep fit by kicking a football over Blackheath Common. So he used to like train his lungs so he could like had that presence and breath control on stage.
Yeah.
Did you exercise to kind of, because you never go like that with the mic?
Nah, I mean, I tell you what, right? I've expanded my lung capacity by cannabis, like, by smoking bongs. If you see me smoke bong, you will understand what I'm talking about. But I don't smoke anymore. I do vaporize stuff, but I don't smoke anymore. But I mean, I can fucking smoke, man. Like I've never smoked tobacco since I was a very young, like 12 or something. I stopped smoking tobacco. But that is really where I get my lung capacity from. In later life, I tend to, if I'm cycling, I tend to recite all my words while I'm riding fast. Right. Because I'm getting older.
Yeah.
But to be honest, like I still have some incredible breath techniques, man. I follow the Wim Hof method as well.
What's that?
Check out Wim Hof. Anyone who doesn't know who Wim Hof is.
And Chester, did you get involved on production much? I mean, in terms of like, you know, break digging, finding samples.
Yeah. I mean, my brother's a genius at making beats, as I'm sure everyone's aware. I used to try and copy what he was doing, but in terms of buying records, I bought records, man. I think I probably bought all the records. Not in a way where I have some power over the beats that are being made, but I was a record collector. I'm fanatic. When I go into something, I fanatically go into it, and I spent all of the money I was earning on records. Most of the record shops in my local area and me had a great business set up where I'd just come and take hundreds of records at a time. Wow. I would clear out all of their library records, all of their...
What, it was all styles of music?
Oh, library records are basically like a bunch of different things. Me and Second Son, Welsh guy, producer. I think he produced some of Goldie Looking Chain and stuff like that. But he's done loads of work. But his name is Second Son. He put out an EP with us called Valley of the Crows. You know, when we were doing that EP, he came and visited, and I took him a few record shops, and me and him were going in these record shops and just buying everything.
And was you going through each?
We weren't even looking. We were just looking, knowing that there were a good selection of records, and just saying, look, we'll buy it, all of this whole floor. We'll buy it. How much? And he'd give you the best price. And I mean, I have got a fucking good record collection, even after selling some of my lesser valuable bits, you know what I mean? So yeah, in terms of finding breaks, buying records and stuff like that, yeah, huge. I didn't do much of the Taskforce production. I've done a couple of tracks because not because there's a political reason, just because it wasn't good enough, you know what I mean? My brother, what I would do is I would often find samples, start making them, realise I can't make it sound as good as my brother might make it, so just not have the ego and just say, Rob, I beg you make this sound good, you know what I mean? And then he'd make it sound good. That's not all the time, that's just very seldomly. Now I can make my own beats, I can make them sound good on my own.
And what do you use? What program do you use?
I'm using a thing called a Machine Mark III at the moment.
Right.
Which is it's like an MPC. That's what we grew up using, MPCs, but
yeah.
Now I just find the machine is just user friendly because I'm not very good at technology, you see. So for me it's a very simple thing to use, and I enjoy using that. But I'm starting to actually get my own sound and formula and understand what it is and how to do it now. I never knew none of that before.
And I know you've started playing guitar as well, haven't you?
I have, yeah, over the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is sad because I should have started young and then I'd have got really good at it. But my dad played a lot of guitar. Well, he did, that's all he did. He's just drink and play a guitar. So when I tried to talk to him,
playing bass or?
No, he's a guitarist, a very good guitarist. And you try and communicate with him, and he go, "Oh, fuck off," you know what I mean? He's playing his guitar, he's drunk.
He got lost. What? He got lost in the music.
It's just what all that mattered to him.
Yeah.
When his choices came about, his family or that, he went that way. That's cool, you know what I mean? At least he was honest with himself about it, rather than stringing anyone along. But it made me resent guitars. You know what I mean? So all the time he would say, "Let me show you how to play a guitar." Like, he wanted to bond with me that way, but I wouldn't let him because I didn't want to bond that way. But I wish I had, you know, because it is something that is in me, is to play a guitar. It's I find it very, very zen-like. But I am learning, and it is starting to sound like a musical instrument. Because
Chester, you know, how did you meet Mark B? Because with Mark B, you done the new mic order. So how did you hook up with Mark B?
Fucking hell. You know, he was just, we used to put on a night called Mudlums. Skinnyman started a night called Mudlums. I need to make sure I get the political part of that right for my own sake, because I don't like to misrepresent what happened. Skinnyman started Mudlums. Unfortunately, he had to take a holiday on Her Majesty's service long time ago, and it got taken into another person's hands within the crew and kind of stayed over in that direction, and there was no animosity about it, but it started there and it ended up there. In one of those nights, Mark B was there and just approached me and my brother, but we chose to do it, and that's where we met Mark, rest his soul. It was always a pleasure working with Mark. I'll be honest, Mark taught us how to record. You know, like when we met Mark, we didn't know how to record properly. And I hear that on the new mic order more than any other record we've done. But while we were doing it, he would constantly say, "Oh, you need to do this and you need to do that." And at the time, I used to think, well, you know, like, really? But when I think about it now, that's exactly what you need. Is if a producer's there and their directions matter. He knew what he was doing. We didn't, you know, and we did listen. And we did follow, and I understand exactly that he was giving us the correct direction. And sometimes now in my life, I wish somebody around me would say, "Well, you know what, bruv, that little bit there, just re-record it, you know, it's not right, you can do this better, you can do that," and just give you some honest direction, because that's all it, for me. Look, there's nothing offensive about the truth, like the truth on any level. If someone tells me the truth and they mean it, and to them they're telling me the truth, I can't be offended by that. I can only respect it, even if it's hurtful, even if it makes me have to check myself. I think, well, you're telling me a truth. If it wasn't a truth, I could be offended because you're lying, but you're telling me a truth, so I have to respect that, because that's all you can ask for, and that's what Mark was doing. But rest his soul, man, he was an interesting guy.
And what was Chester? What was studio time like? I mean, studio time must have been, I mean, at times frustrating, but it must have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah,
Did you get up to a few funny
yeah, I mean, we used to record in the same place, in a place up in Dalston. I think the first real studio I ever really spent time in, Skinnyman hooked us up with it. Who has a lot to do with hooking us up for a lot of things, Skinny. You know, like, it has to be said, you know what I mean? I like to make points of saying these things out loud when I'm talking in public, because it's the truth, you know, like, Skinny pioneered, he put us in a lot of positions none of us would have got ourselves in without him, because that's the way Skinnyman is, you know what I mean?
Skinny is such a nice guy. I mean, he's such a, you know, you meet him and he's like...
He's incredible, he's a unique, he's eccentricity, British eccentricity to its fullest. There's something amazing about Alex, he's fucking hypnotic almost, you know what I mean?
He really is.
It's magical almost, it's quite, it could be used as a fucking weapon. To be honest, like, he could start a cult, you know what I mean? Like, I'd probably be a part of it, you know? Yeah, at the end of the day. But he put us in a lot of positions, and he got us the studio time that I remember first sharing. And we used to just live in there. But we used to share the space with a young Black Tang and a young Roots Maneuver. There was a lot of ego, but on our part, not on their part. I can't speak for them. They always seemed like they were quite nice people, but we were very egotistic and argumentative. Yeah, we had some silly moments, man. I don't really recall how or what went on, but I just know it was all very childish, and I'm glad we're all friends and got through it. But there was a lot of fun in studio. There's always a lot of fun when there's groups of you doing whatever you're doing, you know.
Oh, cool.
We used to freestyle for fucking 8 hours and shit like that, you know what I mean? Just a bunch of 10 of us in a mic room just freestyling all night.
Have you got any bits and bobs on tape which have never been released?
I don't have any memorabilia. My brother has it all. I could probably access it if not probably. If I wanted to, I could ask him if to let me access it, and it would be accessible. But I don't want to do that. There are recordings of me rapping when I'm 9 or 8, and there are recordings of my brother rapping when he's about 11. I know someone who has a recording of me mimicking Snoop Dogg, which I don't ever want to hear. So, boy, I'm ready to pay good money for the fucking... I'm masters of that, you know what I mean? Right? I want the masters, right?
And then delete it.
Woo, yeah, delete it. Jesus Christ, I don't even understand. Like, I weren't even young enough to be mimicking people when Snoop came out, but apparently he's got a cassette of me trying to be this British version of Snoop Dogg. So yeah, you know, there was a lot of fun while we were growing up, man. But studio times, it was always fun, yeah. And but I must say though, when I'm in the studio, I work like that is my work ethic. I don't really want to spend time talking, you know what I mean? And I get frustrated if we all meet to do music, but all we do is talk and smoke weed. I will get frustrated. I want to do music. If we want to meet and talk and smoke weed, let's do that outside of the studio. But that's just me.
And Choci, can you tell me about Deal Real Record Shop? Because I know Deal Real was kind of like the hub of hip hop.
Yeah.
Back in when was it? Like the late 90s?
Yeah.
Early 2000s.
Mid 90s up to the late 90s, maybe early 2000s.
And a big shout out to Pete Real and Sarah Love.
Sarah and Harry Love, yeah. And everyone else who worked in there. It was a cool place, man.
Because when I spoke to Pete, he was saying, and Skinny and that, they were saying that the shop was like electric, and you know, it'd be like literally like the hub.
I saw Amy Winehouse performing there.
Did you?
Before anyone knew who she was. She was stood in there singing. It was a hub, yeah, it really was, man. There was a lot going on there. People used to pass through from all necks of hip hop. You know, and culturally, it was more cultural then. And people would come through and rap, and you know, you'd see people you get on with and don't get on with, and you'd all be in the room and you'd spit, and it was a real movement. It was a thing. I think today's only equivalent of that, if there's anything that is its equivalent, is the chip shop in Brixton.
Yeah.
Big up to Mike. You know, like that's almost the equivalent of that. In one respect or another, but it is very hub-like, and it does magnetise a lot of hip-hop's community.
And also where the chip shop is, I mean, it's perfect for it, because it's literally on that corner there, and it's the perfect.
It's fucking cool.
It's a cool place.
It's a nice spot. I love that road. Yeah. But yeah, Deal Real was an awesome shot, man. It really was. Mr. Bongos was as well, you know, like not quite the same, but just that. I mean, Tony Vegas worked in Mr. Bongos, so you could nip in there and see some of the scratch perverts. Then you nip in and see Pete Real and all them guys, and you'd bump into every Tom, Dick, and Harry in hip hop. Interesting time, man.
And Chester, with Taskforce, was Red Rum in or down with Taskforce as well?
Yeah, Eno Red Rum, yeah, he was. I mean, he came in. A lot of times these things come around because they're people who have come from where we're from, and I can see them in the street, and someone will say, oh, you know, my man's a rapper, because they know we're rappers. I say, oh, let me hear you rap, and they rap, and I say, fucking hell, bruv, come
get on this,
put on a track. And that was the case with Eno Red Rum. He knocked about with us for years, you know, we were good friends. He's quite a bit younger than us. It's not like mentoring, because we never looked at it like that, but it's sort of like these younger people could see we were doing something and we'd come from nothing, and they, you know, it was important for us to offer them a little bit. A lot of these guys wouldn't have left London if it weren't for some of the stuff we were putting them into, you know what I mean?
And Chester, this I love talking about this quickly. It's fashion, hip hop fashion. I mean, what was you rocking back in the day? Was you rocking like the MCMs and the Gucci's and all that?
The Gucci's?
Like the Gucci caps?
Nah, I've never.
Like name belts?
Nah, I've never ever wore shit like that.
What
I mean, the only time I've ever been a victim of any fashion is Beastie Boys.
Oh, what you used to?
Yeah, I got into that. Yeah, but mainly just because I like vandalising cars. Do you know what I mean? So we wanted your cars, man. Like, you know, we were poor and bitter. I didn't like posh people. I was really like classist. You know, we talk about like people being bourgeois and classist, but there's nothing as bourgeois as poor people who hate rich people. That's bourgeois. You know what I mean? All people struggle, man. Money ain't nothing to do with it. Money is a struggle on its own, but that ain't nobody. It was very important to me on my day-to-day life to actually destroy something of yours. If you had a lot, I would come and smash your shit. So that car thing, we loved it. So it went from Volkswagens, and then it was like, oh man, I'm just gonna collect Porsche signs now. I just want to smash Ferraris and shit, you know. So we just went pop swatches come around, and I kind of got into that. But really, I've never been able to afford to follow fashion, so I got through all the peer pressure without it. And got called tramp, oh, you're wearing your brother's clothes, you're doing this, and learnt to just either fight people or just put up with the insult and say, one day you find yourself and you think, oh, actually, I'm so glad I didn't ever fall into all of that stuff, man. I used to steal name belts, you know what I mean? Like,
so you never went to like a 4-star general?
Yeah, I went in there.
Yeah.
They know as well as I know, I never bought nothing. I think, what were they called? 555 Soul. Big up Sophie and Wayne down in Camden. They used to look after us. They could see we were struggling, and they had their shop. They set it up, and they used to give us clothes on tick, and sometimes just give us clothes. And when they gave us clothes on tick, they kind of knew that they might not be getting their money, not in a disrespectful way, just we were fucking broke urchins, and they really did look after us, you know, and let us sit in the back, and we could smoke and hang out, and you know, we always took it for. I always took it for granted. I shouldn't speak for anyone else. I always took for granted the effort some of these elder people put into us young people, you know what I mean? I never realised that actually what they're trying to do is just give us a little bit of support, you know?
A bit of support and a bit of love.
Yeah, and the reason I never knew it is because no one ever said it to me, but that's why you know it was real support, because they don't want you to know, you know? And we took it for granted. I keep saying we, I took it for granted.
Well, a big shout out to them, because what they do, they're doing little things like that, you never forget.
No, you don't. Especially when you get old and realise, oh, you were actually being real, you know what I mean? And you weren't doing it to get praise or kudos, because that's why I didn't know that you were doing it, because you never pointed it out to me. You know what I mean? Now I'm a man, I can see from my own eyes that's what you're actually doing. And that's all good, man. So yeah, I didn't really get into fashion. I probably would have if I could have afforded it, you know what I mean? You're skint, and you know when you can't have something, you just say to yourself, I'm not interested in that. And you tell yourself you're not, but you might be really.
When I said about Gucci and MCM, I wasn't talking about the real deal, Chester. I
don't know what MCM is. Is he MCM's a rapper, right? He was a rapper though from Caveman, no? MCM.
Oh, MCM, yeah, of course, yeah. MCM Caveman, yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's mad.
He's a nice guy. Yeah.
He's a good guy. Yeah, big shout out to Caveman.
Yeah.
And Chester, we're going to kind of come to an end shortly, but something I kind of like to end on is there kind of like a positive kind of message that you can send to the younger generation, because there's a lot of negativity going around out there at the moment. You know, there's
My only real advice to anyone in the world is to be, look, people will throw advice at you, but no one is you. You are your only you, you know what I mean? You know who you are, you have to understand yourself. Now, I could be a hippopotamus and roll up to an antelope and say to it, you know what, dude? Stop running from that fucking lion. He's mugging you off. I ain't running from him, but I'm a hippopotamus. Lion don't fuck with me. Next time that poor little antelope's chilling in the street, you might think, yeah, remember my hippo pal? Remember what he said? I ain't fucking with this lion no more. And stand up to the lion. Lion kill you, eat you, dead, finished. And that's because you took the advice of a hippo. One law doesn't suit all. There's different law. There is difference for all of us. We are all uniquely individual, and that's what makes us beautiful, and that's what makes humanity beautiful, and that's what makes the world worth living for. And that's why freedom of choice is the only thing I will protest to fight for. So if you want to choose to be something, I will fight with you for you to have the freedom to do that, providing you're not talking about paedophilia and anything of that skullduggery, but we should know that already. So ultimately, be individual, be yourself. Somebody tells you something and says it's advice, work out if it will work for you or not. Take what you can from anybody's guidance, but don't ever feel like because someone gave you advice that you have to take it, because you're you know what I mean? And you understand you. My pal's always in and out of jail. If I try and sit him down and say to him, bro, live a more humble life, the next time he goes to jail, he might get swallowed alive by people who don't live like me. Easy for me to say, be humble. I live in a humble situation. Yeah, the antelope will get killed if you try and tell it to live like a hippopotamus. Let's not advise people the wrong way. We're all different. Find your own way, man. That's the best advice I've ever had. Find my own way, you know what I mean? If you need help, ask for it. Don't ever inflict help upon a person, you know, it's insulting. If somebody ain't asking for help, they might not want help, you know what I mean? It's life. Truly, like, the violence, the self-hatred, the infliction of pain upon each other is something that we need to start acknowledging, you know what I mean? I know we're angry, I was angry as a kid. I know I was angry. I found something I could learn to use that anger to channel a different way. Not everyone gets that lucky. In fact, most people are not that lucky. And the anger usually gets channeled in violence, and it's usually against people who look, sound and feel exactly like you do. That's what perpetuates this madness that we all live in, you know, and it's sad but true. I would love to see people just put down all the weapons and all the knives and guns. I have no wisdom that I can impart upon the world that will make that happen, you know. Boom, let's stop war. It's not going to happen. There's going to be war. There's going to be knife crime, there's going to be gun crime. I wish there wasn't. I wish me as a human being had the solution to those problems. I don't. I feel for the youth, you know what I mean? I feel for them. I see what's going on, and it's sad as fuck, man. But I ain't going to condescend, and I ain't going to act like I know any better, because I don't, you know what I mean? And they're walking down a path that we partly paved. So, you know, we have to take some accountability for what we've shown them, for some of the silly music, we might say. And anyway, you know, for me, the only real message, the only real advice you can ever give anyone is to say, just remember, deep inside us all is this warrior spirit that has got you from wherever you were born to where you are today. And anytime you don't feel strong, just dig around inside yourself and don't worry about no one else's opinion of you or anyone else's views of what you should or shouldn't do. Dig around in yourself and find out the easiest and the most successful way for you to get yourself from the problem you're having into a safe, less vulnerable place. And don't let no one ever try and take you out of that freedom, because you are the only person who has that power, man. And that's real, you know, like, that's the real truth. There's a lot of virtue signaling and all kinds of things in the world, man, that will mislead you, and people will tell you they're trying to help you, and they're not trying to help you, they're trying to help themselves, you know. In there you got warrior, like that warrior in there will never let you down, man. You have ancestral warriors in your DNA, they will never let you down either, man. We have everything we need inside us. Nature is a beautiful thing, and it will have your back. The universe will have your back, you know. Remember, there's a lot greater than just us. You know, we build all of these structures around ourselves as human beings so high and tall that we can't see anything that wasn't built by us. But we don't own this place. We are a part of it as unified, you know. And the minute we can connect with nature in that way, then the world will start being a better place. Don't let humanity make you think that that is all there is. There's a lot more than humanity. We share this planet, man. Let's start loving everything that shares it with us, and then we might learn to respect ourselves. I don't know, but that's the road I'm on, you know. I'm gonna learn to love myself, man, and then I will tell everyone else I love them. When I love myself, I'll tell you I love you. Until then, I'm trying my hardest. But that's it.
Chester, what can I say? I'm blown away, my man. I'm blown away. Absolutely incredible interview. And before we go, is there anyone you want to kind of give a little shout out to?
Big, huge, massive shout out to all of the people I came up with. I just saw like my old friend Twilight Eyes from the Berry Crew. As big shout out to him, Intense, the whole Berry Crew. Shocking, you know. A big shout out to my brother Skinnyman and Mongo, Tibbs, and the rest of Hassan and the rest of the Mud family, all my old school friends who know me properly. Like, big up yourselves, big up all the real pioneers of British hip hop music, you know what I mean. Rodney P, your London Posse, Gunshot,
Son of Noise, Demon Boys,
exactly, Demon Boys, we
can go on.
Silver Bullet. You know what I mean? Like, brilliant. Evil Ed, man, big up yourself. And you know, everyone, ultimately, I have nothing but love and respect for everyone who's been a part of this journey that we're all a part of, because none of us are bigger than it, you know, and we are a part of it, and that's what makes us who we are. Big up the fans and the people who actually spend their money. But you know, above all of that, some of the up and coming artists who I'm starting to do some work with and stuff. Ill Sykes, big up yourself. Big up the Last Elect crew, that's Barbarian, CFAX and Converse. And overall, you know, like, it's been a great journey, man, and we should all be proud of ourselves. You know, I personally get caught up in my own head sometimes, and life can feel quite negative, but I'm not a negative person. I've just been in a bad space. It's a very beautiful thing that we've all helped create, and even if we don't like each other and we don't want to be friends and don't hang out, none of that matters. But we should all have the respect for each other to know that we've built this. You know, like, we've done something with ourselves.
It's quite sad, really, Chester. I mean, you know, I think we should all unite a bit more and kind of come together a bit more, because, you know, try fighting each other, putting each other down all the time. We should be uniting and coming together as one. Yeah,
but look, ultimately everything happens for a reason. We're here for a reason, you know. This is all going to end how it's meant to end. In that case, all's well that ends well. Who am I to piss at a wave and tell it to turn round? You know what I mean? Ultimately, the wave's coming, man. I've got my surfboard.
Exactly. No, 100% Chester. Listen, it's an absolute honour. Anybody watching this, please subscribe to the channel, share this interview, check out my other interviews with Public Enemy, Sedgy, Ultramagnetics, Skinnyman, Blade, as well as Rodney P and many, many more. And Chester, all I can say is I'll take my hat off to you, my man. You're an absolute legend. You really are.
It's been a pleasure, thank you, Steve.
And I hope you enjoyed this interview.
I did, man, I always do.
And I hope you're not too hot in the back.
Nah, I've lost a pound. I don't think I had a pound to lose, man. It's alright.
Now listen, an absolute honour, my man.
Yeah, the pleasure's all mine, thank you.